Hello folks, welcome to the video. This is Harder Gaming, and today we're going to be looking at a updated Light and Mage build. So I made a video about this a while back. I've gone up quite a lot of levels since then. I have tweaked a few things here and there, and I've got some nice gear. So with this build here, I am running my way through the enhanced level 100 missions. So I will show a little bit of that at the end of the video. But I'm just here at the dummy first, because I'm going to show you guys what this build can do, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to put on my ward. I'm going to activate my other ability here, and I'm just going to attack this dummy. Yeah, very good guys. And I can do this consistently. One goes on cooldown, I press the other. Got a 30,000 there. One goes on cooldown, I press the other. And I can do that pretty much forever. You see my mana is barely going anywhere. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run through the skills first, and then we're going to go into the actual passive trees, and then into the items that I've got. Now I will say this is quite a high level character, so I have been able to farm some really nice items, though none of the items are a must have for this build. They just happen to be the best items that I've found for this build, but yeah, none of them you need to have. So let's just jump into the skills first. So the 5 skills I'm using are the Elemental Nova, which is pretty much a must-have for most mage builds. Now what I've done with this is I've gone out to the right. I've gone for basically maximum size and damage. I've put 5 points into Elemental Expanse. That gives you a massive buff to your range. I've gone 5 points into Spark Charges and 5 points into Overcharge. Now what Overcharge does is basically it gives you a 40% chance of getting a 200% increased size. So you can basically clear large mobs of enemies. Now the secret is this, your teleport, the Nova triggered by your teleport is this, so you basically get 3 times free casts. So yeah, it's really quite powerful. And then 2 points I put down into Survival of the Victor, just to get a little bit of ward, and 2 points into Arcane Protection, protection. Jeez. Which gives you ward retention on kill, which is always nice. A little bit of ward retention is really important for this build, just because of the kind of level of content that I'm doing now. You need to keep ward up. So that's your Elemental Nova. It's quite simple, all out to the right. Now my second skill, my teleport, I would also say this is pretty much a must-have for all mage builds. This is a fantastic ability. Now what I've done with this is I put 2 points into Crystalline Passage, which gives you a little bit of cold resistance and a little bit of armor. But the reason I've done that is because I've gone into 4 points into Time Dilation. Now what this does is it gives you an 80% increase to your duration that you get for your stats that you get from teleporting. Now the stats you get when you're teleporting, the most important one is this one here, Elemental Affinity. Put 5 points into that, you get 50% extra damage. Now you're going to be teleporting pretty much constantly. Now you've got that with that buff there. You're pretty much always going to have extra damage just from teleporting. I've also put 3 points into Ether Barrier, just to get down to E3 points into Out of Body, so you get a massive chunk of ward whenever you teleport. This is obviously influenced by the amount of health you have, so the more health you have, the more ward you get. So it works really, really well for keeping yourself alive. And the rest of the points all go out to the Elemental Nova, so Elemental Dawn, Elemental Dusk, and Elemental Midnight. So basically the Nova is cast at the beginning, middle, and at the end, so you get 3. And if you teleport onto the one location, you get 3 on that location. You can do a massive chunk of damage straight up, with also getting ward and elemental damage. It's a great ability. I love this. My next ability is going to be Flame Ward. Pretty much again a must have for all mage builds right now. I reckon these will get changed, because I think any skill that is a must have will get changed, because they don't want that. They don't want things that are must have. But for now, this is what we have. So what I've done is I've gone down here 3 points into Dilation, which gives you a little bit of duration and mana efficiency. Basically, you don't need mana efficiency because it doesn't cost any mana. I mean, it's 10 mana. It simply doesn't matter, but the extra duration is nice. I put 5 points into Infusion. Now, this is the great thing with this ability. Infusion, you get 250% extra damage. It does say fire damage, however, it is converted to lightning. So whenever I have this on, I do 250% extra damage. So if I do this and teleport, you can see how the damage starts to stack up. And then 1 point into Lightning Ward, just to kind of trigger the lightning there. Now out to the right, I put 2 points into Stalwart Defense, which is a little bit nice, a nice little bit of ward. Then I put 3 points into Concentrated Shielding, lots more ward, and then 1 point into Fortification, loads of ward. However, you don't do any retaliation anymore, but that's fine. You just get a huge chunk of ward whenever you teleport, which is what this is about. When you activate Flame Ward, which is what I use Flame Ward for. It's my shield. I don't really care about attacking people while I'm doing the attacking. I also put 1 point into Desperate Defense, so I can get 1 point into Astonish. So this cast Flame Ward when stunned. This has actually saved my life so many times. Basically, because we have 2 charges of it, which I'll show you in a second why, you can cast this, go into combat, it'll run out, and if you immediately get stunned, where normally you die, it would automatically cast the second one. As I said, it saved my life on many, many occasions, and I'd highly recommend getting up to this here. Put 2 points into Fuel the Flames, a little bit extra ward granted there. It does increase cooldown, not a problem. And then 1 point down into Dual Aegis, so that's where you get an extra charge. Now, when you've used both charges, it does still go into cooldown. I think it should be that each charge has their own individual cooldown, and that would effectively mean that with some management, you could keep this up at 100% of the time, and I think that would be nice. I don't know if it'd be overpowered, but I think it'd be really nice. But as it is, it does go into cooldown, so you do have to plan ahead a little bit, but it's not an issue. So that is the Flame Ward. Now the main damage ability we have here is going to be our Lightning Blast. Now to get to what I've done here is I've gone 4 points up to Arcane Power, which basically gives you more chains, more enemies a hit. Put 1 point into Closed Circuit. Basically the abilities can actually chain back to you, and then you get a buff to both critical hit chance and damage, which is nice because this is a crit heavy build, and it's always nice to just basically be doing free damage for 1 point for 15% extra. That's not bad at all. And then 1 point into Surgeon Influence. The Lightning Blast chains have increased range, 50% extra range. You can hit things off the map quite easily with this. The next abilities we're doing, if you're just starting out with Lightning Blast, try and get down to Aegis first. So you're going to be doing 2 points into Storm Razor. Improves Lightning Blast, base critical strike chance, a little bit extra damage, and a tiny bit of critical chance, but not enough to really bother me. But the reason I'm going down here is to get 2 points into Lightning Attunement. So basically you get a chance to cast Lightning Aegis, which grants 50% extra increased lightning damage and 25% less damage taken. There's also a lot of relics that require Aegis to be active to give you massive buffs. And I mean, like, I've got a couple that give almost 100% extra damage if I've got a Lightning Aegis active. I don't use them, I don't think. I need to check actually. I use the ones that just give me the base damage because you don't have the Aegis up 100% of the time, and over the course of a full mission, I think the base like 50% extra damage or close to is more effective than having bursts of 100%. Now what else I've done is I've put 4 points into Overcharge, which gives you a chance to double cast. And also increases your critical multiplier. And I put 1 point into Hypercharge. You get a chance to quadruple cast. So it's just more times casting. I don't know if that quadruples the cost of the ability. I've never really seen much of an issue. I mean, it's only cost me 3 mana to cast. So I don't know if it does charge more, but it's basically, to me, it's free damage for 1 point. And the last points I put 4 points up into Front Loaded, which increases the basic hit damage. You do get reduced damage per chain after that, but basically the enemies that you're targeting are going to die very, very quickly. So I think that's better than actually not having it on. Yeah, anyway, I like it. And then 1 point up into Innate Conduit. So it's free to cast. If I ever do happen to run out of ability mana, which might happen in some really heavy health boss fights, it's free to cast, but it doesn't chain anymore. But it's still nice to have that as a bit of a backup. You never want to be in a mage and run out of mana, because then you're screwed. So that is Lightning Blast, and the last ability is Arcane Ascendance. Now this is a tricky ability to use because it locks you in place. However, the amount of damage extra you get from it is truly ridiculous. So what we're doing here is we're doing 5 points on top of the higher plane, so you get a plus 75% spell damage whilst Arcane Ascendance is active. You're going to put 5 points down to Cosmic Insight, which basically you have a shorter cooldown, so you can cast it much more regularly. Put 3 points into Rebuff, so you get ward when you jump into it. This is a personal choice. I like it. You could probably find somewhere else to put it. I mean, 180 ward is a nice, but it's not a huge amount at this point in the game. Put 3 points into Power Sprint. This is a personal choice again. You are granted haste for a duration after leaving Arcane Ascendance. The duration is kept at 200% of the time you spend in Arcane Ascendance. So basically, if you spend 10 seconds in Arcane Ascendance, you will then come out and be able to run for 15-20 seconds at haste speed, which is nice for clearing. I put 1 point into Acuity, so no longer drains mana, but you do get a much more limited number of casts or spells you can use, but you can increase that by using Cunning. As long as you've got Cunning maxed out, this is kind of a bit of a non-issue, because the enemies die so quickly that it simply doesn't matter. So that's the skills, guys. Looking into the passive skill tree, I have put 30 points into the Mage skill here. To start with, you're going to be putting 8 points down into Arcanist, Arcanist, and 1 point into Elementalist, which will knock you up to get Reactive Ward, 1 point in that. And then you'll get 5 points into Mage Flurry, oh, pardon me, which gives you 15% extra cast speed, which is always nice. There's a lot of cast speed in this build. Which then I've also put 5 points into Warden, which gives you 50% extra ward retention, which is really nice, trying to get as much ward retention as possible. And then 10 points into Knowledge of Destruction. As I said, this is quite a high level character. You don't necessarily need to put 10 points into this or 5 points into that straight away, but you do want to get ward retention quite early on, because 50% extra ward retention is actually really, really nice. So yeah, just that's the 30 points I put into Mage, and all the rest of my points are now in Sorcerer. Starting from the bottom, we're going to be putting 8 points into Calculated Destruction, massive buff to your critical strike chance there. 5 points into Arcane Momentum. This is a fantastic ability. Basically, the second you cast a spell, you're going to be getting 25% extra increased spell cast after that. Put 10 points into Wisdom, so you get loads of intelligence and a chunk of mana, which is always handy. You're trying to break the 300 barrier. That's the magic number for mages, 300, because a lot of your relics are based around having 300, and even item abilities require 300 mana to unlock them fully. Put 8 points into the one I can't pronounce, which will give you lightning damage and shock chance. Now, I will probably spend the rest of my points into here. I've taken this off and I've not really noticed much difference, but 15% extra lightning penetration would probably be quite handy. So I will be putting the points that if I ever level up game, I get like no XP anymore. But they will be going into there. I then put 8 points into Crackling Precision, so again, increased critical strike chance. Now with this, it does say 80%, however, because I'm using lightning, it's actually 106%, so a massive buff to your critical strike there. And then 5 points into Arcane Obliteration, so spell critical multiplier by 50%. Lots of critical hits with this build. Let's put 5 points in Distant Spark. When you critically strike an enemy from at least 4 meters away, you have a chance to cast Spark Nova. This is really handy for taking out large mobs. That's why it's not much of an issue that my Lightning Blast doesn't arc as much as others do, because I'm killing mobs anyway with this ability. I've also put 10 points into Arcane Insight. This is one of the ones you don't need to put 10 points into yet, but what this does, it gives you plus 10 intelligence and a chance to cast Insight about 50%. Now, Arcane Insight is a nice ability. It gives you a buff that gives you 20% increased elemental damage and 20% ward retention for 4 seconds. Because you've got a 50% chance, you're pretty much going to have this up all the time. I only really use this for the intelligence buff. As I said, you don't need to have 10 points into this. This is probably one of the trees that you don't need to actually add into it until you kind of leveled up a bit more. But I've done that, and I put 1 point into Elixir of Knowledge, which basically whenever you use a potion, you gain ward equal to your intelligence. I've got about 60 intelligence, so I get a good chunk of ward from that. I have put 4 points into Recollection. This is a really, really nice ability. Try and get this as soon as you can. This gives you increased cooldown recovery speed. That's a global universal cooldown, so all your abilities will benefit from that. I've got 1 more point to put into here. So Spell Slinger, which gives you adaptive spell damage and increased cast speed. Which is, some people tell you to go to this one straight away. I've really not noticed much of a difference, especially after getting Arcane Momentum. That will be the next one will be putting points into before that, obviously. And then 5 points into Arcane Current. So that increases shock effect and increases stun. Now the reason I've increased shock effect strips strips resistances of the enemy. So it's very nice against bosses because you can strip them of their lightning resist and take them down really quite quickly. And then last point, 5 points into Archmage. So adaptive spell damage, value tripled if you have 200 mana. So that means I'm getting 15 extra spell damage. Now those of you who don't know what adaptive spell damage is, it's basic spell damage for all your abilities. Think of it as essentially elemental damage. So if I was to cast lightning, I get extra damage. If I was to cast cold, I'd get extra damage. So yeah, it's a very nice ability, and it's a base ability. It's a base number, so everything is multiplied on top of those numbers. So try and get as much adaptive spell damage or basic spell damage, like elemental damage, as possible, guys. So that is a passive, guys. I've got nothing in Spellblade, and that is that. Now, having a quick look at my gear. As I said, I have got some really nice gear. None of it is essential. None of it is essential. Just all of it is what I find the best in slot for me. So running through the idols, I have 2 idols which give me ward when I get to low health. Yes, that one's the same, and they both give me increased lightning damage as long as I have over 300 mana. So instead of 46%, I'm actually getting 92%. And with that, is that right? 80, 90, yeah, 92. And with that, I'm getting 98. It's been a long lockdown, guys. Don't make me try and do maths. So 98% extra from that. Now these two as well, I've got extra critical strike and extra damage, and elemental nova size, which is handy, and extra damage as long as I have over 300. And then the last slot I've just put critical strike and lightning damage. Don't fall into the trap of putting 4 of these in thinking that you're going to get better, because with this I'm getting 32, 30 and 17. You could probably, I mean, I will, when I get better ones, I will probably have 4 of these. But this is what I've come in to find really, really useful. This gives me, let's just open up my character sheet, 596% extra lightning damage with a 48% extra base damage as well. Now going through my items, my wand is an Infernal Wand, which gives you adaptive spell damage and increased cast speed. I've rolled onto it really, really nicely here. I've got really high lightning damage, spell critical strike chance to shock, and extra mana. Remember, we are trying to break 300. I have 309, so I'm quite close to not having it. So yeah, I've got to be very careful, especially if I'm re-rolling items such that, to try and keep my mana up. The helmet thing is a silver crown for the ward retention and a nice chunk of armor. This gives me cooldown, intelligence, physical resistance, and a good chunk of mana. My amulet, I've gone for resistances as much as I can, so I've got physical and necrotic on that. I have ward gained on kill, which is nice. Critical strike multiplier, void resistance, and mana efficiency. Looking back, I probably would have wanted another resist instead of the mana efficiency, but it's just it's the best what I have right now. The mana efficiency is handy, but not really an issue with this build. Another resist would have been nice, maybe like a poison resist, or maybe cap out void resist, but just, you know, working with what we got. For my chest piece, it's this one here. It is a celestial robes. I'll probably try and get a battle mage robes, which gives you ward retention again. But I got this because of the massive damage buff. So I get 6% extra spell critical, increased spell crit, doubled if you have over 300 mana. So that's 120% extra spell crit. You know, plus a bit of void resistance. The other two, as I said, I found this basically as it is, and I just added to it. I didn't want to roll that off, but yeah, I'm very happy with that. For my offhand, I am using a Blood Rust Aegis, which gives you intelligence and ward per second. I've got this almost maxed, because the max intelligence is 15, the max ward is 40. On this I have increased elemental damage, critical strike multiplier, extra mana, and all-round elemental resistances. For my jewellery, I have 2 rings. I have a ruby ring here, which gives me health and stun avoidance. I just put this on because it had best stats. I probably want the mana rings. I believe they're sapphire. But this gives me increased elemental damage, intelligence, health regeneration, which is actually quite handy, and armor. My belt gives me ward on potion use. I'm using the ranger's belt, which gives me 5 potions. I'm using, I've got increased elemental damage over time, critical strike avoidance, which is a very important skill, and physical resistance, which is also another very important skill. Mother ring is a silver ring, which gives me a tiny bit of movement speed, but what it does give me is intelligence, increased spell damage, armor, and mana regeneration. Now, mana regeneration is why mana is not much of an issue with this build. 19% extra plus all the stuff you get normally means that I never really have to worry about mana with this build. Going on to my bottom bits here, my gloves or braces are Solarium, which gives me critical strike chance and a good chunk of armor, gives me intelligence, cast speed, critical strike avoidance, and extra mana. My boots, I love my boots. I've found a couple of these. They're not all that rare, so you will find them. I reckon these are best in slot for all builds that require any form of magic. 58% of current mana gained as warned when you stop moving. Plus physical, poison, and necrotic resistances, and 19% increased movement speed. These are awesome. I love these boots. I mean, that's 29% movement speed altogether. I love them. My last one is going to be the this one. I don't know what I can't pronounce, which gives you a really nice buff to your cold and lightning damage, mana, resistances, and also you get a 100% chance to cast a water orb when you hit a boss or rare enemy, which gives you a further buff of 30% lightning damage. So with this, as long as I've hit an enemy, a boss enemy, I've got 54% extra lightning damage, 100% of the time pretty much. It does say if your attunement is equal to your intelligence, you cast free. I don't really understand that because the only class that uses attunement is the Primalist, who doesn't require intelligence. So it's a bit of a weird one. Maybe I've just not read that right, or maybe it's something I don't know about it. But yeah, I think that's better than a standard relic just because of the resistances. And also a good chunk of mana there. As I said, it gives me 30 mana, and I'm only 9 over. That's it. And when it comes to my defenses, I've got a good chunk of resistances in all of them. Could definitely room for improvement here. The thing is, I do have quite a good ward, which they do have to break through first before they can kind of really affect me from this. But I have capped out physical here pretty much, and I've got a really high void resist, which is another important one. And my critical hit avoidance, not 100% guys, I'm sorry, I need 3 more percent, but 97% is not bad at all. I have seen people put builds up here, like on YouTube, and they had all this sorted, they had loads of armor, they had good ward retention, and then 0 critical hit avoidance. And the thing is, when you get to the really high content guys, any ad can one hit you, if you haven't got critical hit avoidance. So yeah, I mean, I still will take a couple, I still will die now and again, but it's, what it is. Now, looking at this, you can also see I've got a really high critical hit strike here, 34%, and a really high critical hit avoidance, multiply, 301%. I am working on getting these both higher, probably critical strike multiplier would be easier, but you can see how the damage does really kind of duplicate very, very quickly. So what I'm going to do, I have been working my way through the level 100 areas, so I'm going to head over and I'm going to move into one. Which was one I am currently working on? Ending the Storm, that's the one here. I have just, did I just kill Black Sun? I can't remember. I think I did. Let's just go here. So this is a level enhanced 100 area. I don't have too much added on. So what we've got, shred armor, increased. Let's go for increased health. So enemies have 135% extra increased health, and this is a level 100 area. I bet I'm gonna die. You can see how quickly this is though. You can just stand still, and if there's an enemy coming up it's got loads of health, you just press number 3, stand your ground. As I said, it does require a little bit of balls, because you need to hold your ground. Although, not many people know this, at least I don't think they do. If you have it activated, you can still teleport, and it will stay activated. Not everyone knows that. So, that's a little trick for you. That's the Arcane Ascendance I'm talking about, guys, just so you know. Good helmet, that. I used it for a little bit when I was leveling. Gives you attributes across the board, which is handy. But this guy's got high resistances. But not high enough. That's it. Well, I put the build up the other day and the guys are like, yeah, you didn't really show much gameplay because you just went straight for the mission. But I mean, this is a level 100 area. It's an enhanced area. The enemies are high level. I'm not at level 100 yet, so these enemies are, you know, at least 5 levels higher than me, and I'm chewing my way through them. So yeah, that's it, guys. Really easy, really quick, really fun build to use. I like my lightning builds. The teleport, as you can see, really fast. Cooldown, I've got 31% altogether. You can probably get that higher if you got some really nice rolls and gear. And you can see how much damage. I mean, the teleport itself can actually kill most of the like low level adds. So something you can do is like basically jump into a map and just like jump into a horde of enemies and instantly kill like all the low level enemies in front of you, and just focus down the big heavy enemies. You know, considering that it's a movement skill that's doing that, I actually almost never click my Nova as an actual ability. Excuse me. Yeah, but I almost never have to actually press Nova. But you can see you can see there how much, you can see how big it is. And you can get it bigger on using other relics and stuff. You can increase the size even further. Which will again benefit the teleport. See all these big yellow numbers. The thing is, I don't understand. People do put builds up and they've got like 200,000 crit. And I'm like, do you really need that? But I mean, 2 to 3,000, and I'm wrecking these enhanced areas. So I don't think you need any more at the moment. Maybe you will when maybe they'll add more content. But you did see me on the trading dummy there getting over 30,000. But remember, I don't think the trading dummy has any resistances or armor, or I don't know what it's classed as. I'd actually quite like to know what it has as resistances, so I can like build around it. It's also annoying as well. Like, I've been working with my shaman. The trading dummy doesn't count as an enemy for some reason. The developers didn't think that was a good idea. So you can't test shaman totems because you can't target them. And I'm assuming there are other abilities as well that you can't target. I'm sometimes getting, I'm getting 2,000 ward at times. I'm generally staying about 1,000. If I get below like 1,000, I'm usually like, oh no. So loads of ward, guys. Try and get your ward up as far as Try and get your ward up as far as possible. It really does keep you alive at these kind of end game. Because the thing is, if an enemy does get through, these enemies are getting so shocked and damaged, and like they usually can't do much. Let's have a wee look. What is my 101% shock chance with a 25% shock effect? So these enemies are getting shocked by every single thing that I do. But if they ever do get through that and hit you like once, your ward will take the hit. Gotta grab this. Alright, so that's it, guys. That is the build. 30 points into Mage. You want 78 points, or all the rest of your points into Sorcerer. Just kind of working on the good ones. The good skills. As I said, I will be putting my next point into Spellslinger just to finish that, and then I'll probably just be putting the rest of the points into that. I don't know what the max level is, but I gain so little XP now for missions. Like, I'll be running missions like 200% extra XP, and I literally won't see my XP bar move for an entire mission. So I don't know what the max level is. So that's it. I hope you enjoy this, guys. And yeah, so this was just a bit of an update. I have shown this build before, but this is what it is now. It is brutal. It can chew through every enemy Even enemies with like high lightning resist, you literally just put these 2 abilities on, and you just take him down. And remember, if you do have this active and an enemy's coming towards you, you can still teleport away. I said I don't know if everyone knows that you can do that, but it can save your life. Anyway guys, thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you do, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.